Good morning, Bananimators. Welcome to the soup. Good morning. I'm so, I don't even know where to start. First of all, thank you to everybody who's been commenting and engaging with my post. Um, I've already had 5,000 views on this video, and listen, I don't make content that's for like a mass audience. You know, I've been pretty niche this whole time, so my last video only has 1,000 views. You know, just a little over, and then that's fine. But this one already has 5,000, and I'm like, whoa, that's bananas. You know, I never thought that this channel would bring in a ton of money, but we're at the point in the industry now where I'm like, you know what? If that brought in a little bit of cash from time to time, that would actually help me out. That would alleviate some of my stress. So thank you for engaging, and I'm going to keep trying to make content that is geared towards engagement. So if you want me to talk about anything, you want me to draw something, you want me to do whatever, my time is up for grabs. It's for sale. I've spent some time like digesting all the stuff that I was reading, because like a lot of it is really personal. Like, people are scared, people are anxious. Some people hate my they didn't like my presentation. They're like, goopy eyeballs. If you can't follow a metaphor, you're not going to enjoy this channel, just as a rule. Not only am I an animator, so everything I have is filtered through this lens of absurdism as a coping mechanism. But I'm also from a place called Newfoundland, where our language is actually very visceral and built around metaphors and storytelling and stuff like that. This is what you're gonna get. If anybody was hoping for some sort of university dissertation on the global economic situation, I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this, but you should not be getting your global economic news from a person who draws farts and sparkles as a career. Okay? So if this is not sophisticated enough, like, you're... Okay. If you're Canadian, I highly recommend following Todd Maffin. He's your emotional support Canadian, and he is going to be delivering the type of news about the kind of situation between our situation here in a really gentle and polite way. And from there, move on to credited sources and news, and, you know, not animators. That's a bad choice. But even though I know these are like some trolly posts, there's some people who are upset that I drew my little doodle of this guy. I do think that there are people out there who do not understand why this dynamic is causing problems, and my layman's understanding of it, so that if you want to move forward from a kernel of this into something actually respectable, for lack of a better word, you can do so. In my last video, when I said that we were in a cocoon, this is the cocoon that me and my community are in. Y'all are choosing to separate into your own cocoon. Okay? So because of this and the imposition of those, that is really shaking up the way that the global system is working. All right, let me explain more. I lost some of my props. So one of the ways that the industry has been making a lot of money is by merchandising things. We animate things that go in games. The toys are not made in this place, right? So this one is made in China. So is Master Chief. And this Minecraft sword. So all of those things. I had some other ones. I lost them somewhere in my setup. So this one's from Thailand. I had some from Malaysia and Vietnam as well. So all of the merchandise that is made for this global market comes from Asia. Very little is made in the United States because the cost of hiring an American worker is much higher than an Asian worker or even a Canadian worker, which is why the service industry of animation has done so well historically, is because it's cheaper to hire Canadian labor than it is to hire American labor for several reasons. I mean, one, the Canadian dollar is weaker. So if you're paying me $10 an hour and you're paying an American $10 an hour, you're spending more on the American worker, right? Also, Canadians, because we have national services, maternity leave, a universal healthcare system that reduces the costs again because the corporations or the companies don't need to cover those initial costs. Now we have a situation where manufactured goods was actually propping up the animation industry because it made sense to create projects that would sell merchandise. But now, because of these, importing that merchandise from overseas into the country is costing so much more. Add to that, the cost of living is rising. So this country is going to spend less this year. Like, this Christmas season is expected to be one of the worst in a long time because people just can't afford to spend in the way that they did back in the old days. Okay? So these companies that have been making a lot of animation and games and things like that are cutting costs because they're making less money on manufactured goods because of this. That's why there is a problem, not because I feel feelings about it. Okay? So anyway, let's go back and see what other comments we were looking at. That one, this isn't my first time recording a response to these videos because I kept getting so heated. No, I'm not getting fights on the internet. Although for $1 amount, the industry's real bad, friends. You know, like, I recommend everybody read the comments on my last video because there's a lot of speculation. You know, people think that features might be the right path. I mean, K-pop Demon Hunters makes me really excited about what movies might get greenlit because people are like, wait a minute, we thought we knew what everybody liked. This is not what we expected. Like, there are grown, burly, blue-collar men who adore K-pop Demon Hunters. I love seeing a guy in a hard hat and, like, covered in spackle or, like, burn holes in his clothes because he's a welder or something, who's just, like, bopping to Soda Pop. I love it. That's what I think the world should aim for, aspire to, is to just, everybody in the world is just having unbridled joy at something that is just fun and expressive and exciting. Ugh. What a world. Let me see. So there's some talk of anime. I mean, just that anime model, it's a little bit more illustrative. It's not, it doesn't take as much manpower to produce the amount of frames necessary. I mean, they have really, really rough work environments over there in some places. We've all heard the horror stories. But the idea that you could do illustrated novels, and people are going to be interested in that, even short form illustrated, you know, less actual frame-by-frame animation, and that there's a market for that is really interesting. One of the reasons I think that indie animation in particular is going to have a chance of getting out there is because if you're looking at a corporation, the amount of return they want on a project is astronomical. However, if you have a small team of 10 people, the amount of return you need for everybody to gain value by participating is much lower. The startup cost is really the biggest factor. However, if there's just some independently wealthy person just kicking around thinking like, man, I've always wanted to make my own show, you could go pick up a team of AAA animators right now and you could just make it. Like, there's nothing stopping you. If you got a cool million just sitting in the bathtub and you're like, I just want to spend it on something, this is the time. There is so much skill kicking around, like, especially here. We have so many skilled people that are out there just, like, looking for something to latch onto, whether it's YouTube or other social media places or Tubi, you know, other streaming services. I mean, Netflix, who knows what else they're going to do in terms of animation after having such a hit with K-pop Demon Hunters. Who knows? That's why it's a cocoon. We don't know what's coming out. I'm just purely speculating. There's some speculation here that the audience for cartoons is just going to get older. Like, if the 9 to 12-year-olds aren't watching cartoons, but the millennials are, I mean, we're just looking for escapism when we get home at the end of the day. I mean, where is the urban fantasy romance animation? Please call me. If you're making urban fantasy romance and you need somebody who's, like, interested in storyboard, please give me a call. Okay, and the last thing I want to talk about is AI. I do think it's going to change things. it's not getting put back in the bottle. There's a lot of people who are like, if I hate it enough, if I'm angry enough, we can turn back time. That didn't work for the oil painters. That didn't work for the pen and paper animators. And it's not going to work for us now. Even if every ounce of AI that was built on scraping and unethical means just gets destroyed today, somebody's going to build a new model and it's going to get populated with something. Even if it's like schemy backdoor fine print nonsense like Adobe's been doing. But it is going to have a significant impact long term, not short term. Right now, the technology is still really, really rudimentary. And just like you shouldn't be coming to me for like an in-depth analysis on politics or economics, you also can't come to me for an in-depth look at this technology. However, I have asked people who are smarter than me in the computer science industry, techno geeks. I've listened to their opinions on it. And what I've heard is really reassuring, because the difficulties with communication between their guessing machine, like AIs aren't a brain, like you're not talking to a brain, you're giving prompts or ideas to a guessing machine, which then guesses what you want to hear, right? So it's really, it feels very powerful because it's really self-indulgent. It's like a golden mirror of your ideas. But without skilled driving, without somebody with discernment, it really struggles to perform things that are creative, right? It doesn't have an opinion. It doesn't have taste. And those things are actually super important when you're developing creative things. So while it can perform labor tasks, and it's really good at generating a lot of things very fast, it's not really good at going in a direction very specifically. It's not good at listening, and it's not good at understanding feelings or vibes or any of the complexities that we already have trouble with when we're communicating in studios with human beings. And the fact that a lot of clients don't understand the like language of creativity, they might have an idea that they don't like something, but they don't know why. Or they'll know it when they see it. Those types of things have always been a problem. And when you're working with a machine and it has no discernment whatsoever, you have to be able to communicate clearly. And I genuinely believe that the inability for a client who doesn't understand the language of animation being able to communicate with the device that needs specific and clear and concise messaging, that's going to keep a lot of us safe for a lot of time. Until they can develop a language model that works better than a human being, there's always going to be hands on animation. And I personally don't have a big moral judgment on whether or not utilizing AI tools is good or bad. I do think that scraping is bad. Copyright infringement is bad. I don't have any ambiguity on that. But once a model is trained ethically, the fight goes out of me. I'm like, well, where can we stand morally to say whether or not this is better or worse than any other technology out there? I'm really conflicted on it. And like I said, I hate that it's here. I hate that the path I took isn't going to be able to be taken by the next group of animators. That was what the whole channel was about, was to share my knowledge of how I got in the industry, all the knowledge I have, and just sharing it so that, you know, it was available for people to take without barriers. Because I believe in education without barriers. I believe everybody should be able to have the opportunity to get all the information. So that's kind of the summary of what I'm thinking about after reading all these comments. Like, I didn't get into specific comments because, like I said, I was so overwhelmed by the quantity, in a good way, in a really excited way. I'm going to stop talking because I feel like I'm just spinning my wheels. I'm just going in circles. But thanks for dropping by. Like, share, subscribe, all those things the internet people ask you to do, because I could use the money. And I'll see you in the next video.